It was the kind of crisp autumn evening that made you breathe a little deeper, slow your walk a little more. The sky blushed with warm oranges and cool purples. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and burning wood, and fallen leaves crunched under tired sneakers. For most people in the quiet town of Eldersbrook, this was the season of comfort and calm. But for Derek Marsh, comfort was something he hadn't really felt in years. The 37-year-old single father of one had just finished his shift stacking shelves at the local supermarket. Life hadn't gone how he imagined. 5 years ago, he was an engineer with a plan, a family, and a bright future. Now he was scraping by on 2 jobs, raising his 10-year-old daughter Emily after her mother left them with nothing more than a cold goodbye and a forwarded address that never worked. Still, Derek never complained. He couldn't afford to. Emily looked up to him with wide eyes that deserved every ounce of energy he had left. On that particular Thursday evening, Derek decided to take the shortcut behind the store, an alleyway wedged between a rundown laundromat and a rusted chain-link fence. He usually avoided it after sunset, but he was late for picking up Emily from her after-school program. As he stepped into the shadowed path, he heard it. A scream, not a playful one, not the shriek of teens goofing around. It was sharp, guttural, laced with panic. Then he heard it again, closer, followed by the unmistakable, sickening thud of something or someone hitting concrete. He froze. The scream was coming from behind the dumpster. For a moment, Derek's mind split. He had Emily to pick up, and what if this was dangerous? What if he got hurt? Or worse, what if he did nothing, and someone paid the price? Then it came again. A choked sob, a whisper. Please stop. That was it. His feet moved before his fear could argue. He rounded the dumpster and saw them. A girl barely out of her teens, blood on her lip, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. Her jacket was torn. Standing over her was a man older, broad-shouldered, a wildness in his eyes. His hand was raised again. Hey, Derek's voice ripped through the alley like thunder. Stop. What the hell are you doing? The man froze. Startled, the girl turned, her eyes wide with both hope and terror. Derek stepped forward, taller than he realized, hands clenched. You touch her again. I swear to God. The man growled something under his breath, threw a glare at Derek, and then without warning bolted past him into the night. Silence. The girl collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Derek rushed to her, instinct taking over. It's okay. You're safe now. He's gone. I've got you. She flinched at first, but when he gently placed his jacket around her shoulders, she leaned into him like a crumbling wall finally allowed to fall. He took out his phone, hands shaking. I'm calling the police and an ambulance. No, she rasped, grabbing his wrist. Please, no police. He looked at her, really looked. She couldn't have been more than 18, maybe 19. Her eyes were sunken, haunted, not just from the beating but from something deeper, prolonged. Please, she said again, her voice breaking. They'll send me. Back where? But she only shook her head, clutching the jacket like a life vest. That night, Derek made a decision, one that would change not just her life, but his. The girl's name was Maya. At first, she barely said it above a whisper. Her voice, hoarse from crying, carried the weight of someone who'd learned early that her words often didn't matter. But Derek listened, not just with his ears, with his whole presence. He took her to the 24-hour clinic, not the hospital. She didn't want records. He didn't push. He paid out of pocket for the stitches above her brow, the x-ray for her ribs. Maya didn't ask for help, but she didn't stop him either, and that was enough for now. Emily was already asleep when Derek carried Maya into the house that night, laying her gently on the pull-out couch. He wrote a note for his daughter. Daddy had an emergency tonight. Everything's okay. I'll explain in the morning. I love you. He made up the guest bed, found an old pair of sweatpants, left a clean t-shirt on the coffee table. Maya hadn't spoken in over an hour. She just stared at the ceiling like it might open up and suck her into a better life. Before heading to bed, Derek paused in the hallway. You're safe here, he said quietly. No one's going to hurt you anymore. She didn't reply, but for the first time since he found her, her eyes fluttered closed without flinching. Over the next few days, Derek saw the slow reveal of a life Maya had tried hard to keep hidden. She'd run away from a group home 6 months earlier. Her mother had died when she was 13. Her stepfather, she never finished that sentence. Foster homes, shelters, bad boyfriends. The man behind the store was one of them, a guy who offered her a place to crash in exchange for being useful. Derek didn't ask for the gory details. He didn't need to. What mattered was that she was here, alive, and for the first time. Maybe she believed she deserved to be. Emily was cautious at first. 10-year-olds are smarter than we give them credit for. She knew Maya was broken in places people couldn't see, but she also knew her dad, and if he trusted this girl, then maybe she should too. It was Emily who made Maya smile for the first time. She did it by accident, dumping an entire bowl of cereal on the floor during breakfast and exclaiming, "Well, the floor was hungry too." Maya laughed. Not a full laugh, but something soft, something human. Derek heard it from the hallway and stopped short. He didn't say anything. He just let himself smile. Weeks passed. Maya stayed. Derek helped her get an ID, a job at the same supermarket where he worked, a checking account, a small slice of something that looked like stability. She still had nightmares, still sat curled up too tightly on the couch, but she no longer jumped at loud noises. She no longer stared at knives like they might be used against her. She talked to Emily, played card games with her, helped her with homework, baked muffins once, badly. They laughed when they came out like bricks. She tried again. They were better. It wasn't a perfect setup. Derek got side-eyed at work for taking in strays. His sister warned him, "Don't get too involved. These girls, they're damaged. They'll drag you down." He let her words pass through him like wind. What he saw was a young woman desperately trying to stand back up in a world that kept pushing her down. He didn't see damage. He saw resilience. The emotional climax came on a Sunday morning. Emily had gone to a birthday party. Derek was fixing a cabinet hinge. Maya sat at the table, staring at a letter. She didn't move, didn't blink. He noticed. "What is it?" he asked gently. She slid the paper across the table. Her hands were trembling. It was from the state. They'd tracked her down. A social worker was requesting a mandatory meeting. There were notes about violation of foster care protocols, concerns of harboring a runaway. "They're going to take me," she whispered. "They're going to put me back." Derek sat down. He read the letter again. His throat went dry. And then without hesitation he looked her in the eyes and said, "Then I'll fight it." She stared at him like he was speaking in a foreign language. You can't. I'm not your family. You are now." The silence between them grew thick with something that had no name, but it wasn't fear. She began to cry, not the kind of cry that begged for help, the kind that came from finally being safe enough to feel all the pain she'd been carrying. He walked over and held her. That night, Derek made phone calls, researched lawyers, found a friend of a friend who knew someone in social services, explained the truth. He didn't have money. He didn't have legal guardianship. But he had something the courts don't often see, a community witness to change. Letters from neighbors, statements from the clinic, from the supermarket, from Emily's school. Maya wasn't a risk anymore. She was a young woman trying to finish high school, working part-time, mentoring a child, and healing. 3 weeks later, a judge granted Derek temporary custodial care of Maya under a kinship provision. It wasn't adoption, but it was a shield. It was protection. It was hope. 1 year later, Maya stood on a stage at the local community college, accepting her GED certificate. Her speech was short. Her voice was strong. "I thought the world was made of broken people who hurt each other to survive. But then someone saw me, not as a case, not as a burden, but as a person worth saving. And because of that, I started seeing myself that way too." Derek sat in the front row, tears silently streaming down his cheeks. Emily cheered beside him, holding up a sign that said, "Go Maya," in purple glitter glue. Epilogue. Sometimes kindness doesn't look like a grand gesture. Sometimes it's a single voice in a dark alley shouting, "Stop." Sometimes it's letting someone stay on your couch even when you barely have enough for rent. It's listening without judgment. It's choosing to believe that even the most broken people are still whole inside, just waiting for someone to remind them. Derek never set out to be a hero. He just couldn't walk away, and because of that, a life was saved. A girl became a woman. A father became more than a dad. A family became something forged not by blood but by choice.